Greetings, my scattered sisters and brothers in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, we continue to linger around the empty tomb. We are in Mark chapter 16, and I'll go ahead and pick it up at verse 1. When the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome bought spices so that they might go and anoint Jesus. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. And they were saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb?" And looking up, they saw that the stone had been rolled back. It was very large. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were alarmed. And he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him? But go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." And they went out and fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Now, the verse I want to focus on is verse 7. But go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going there before you to Galilee. So the women were the first to get the good news that Jesus is risen. And we find this in all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. They all have it. The women were the first to get the good news that Jesus is risen. And they were commissioned to go and report this news to the disciples that Jesus is risen. So I'm thinking two things today as I kind of meditate on this. Number one, I'm not sure why the women, but could it be that it's because they showed up? That the women were the ones who were there at the tomb to continue to care for the body of Jesus. Their devotion was evident, and because they showed up, they're the ones who get the good news that the tomb is empty. Kind of reminds me that sometimes you just miss out on things when you don't show up. Peter and the rest of the disciples, they weren't showing up. They were already gone. They were already kind of packing things up and disappointed, heartbroken. We can think about all the emotions, but the women showed up and the women got the good news. And so I'm wondering if that's kind of a message in itself. Keep showing up. That as we continue to show up, we continue to discover that God is at work in ways beyond our imagination. So that's kind of my first thought in terms of, why did the women get the good news? Well, it's because they were the ones who showed up. Second thought regarding why, I can't help but wonder if this is a bit of a reversal of the garden. That you'll remember back in the Garden of Eden, the serpent singled out the woman. The man was with her, but the serpent had the conversation with the woman about eating the fruit from the forbidden tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And after that conversation, the woman took and she ate and she gave some to her husband, who again was right there with her. But it was the woman who was giving the fruit to the man. And now we have a reversal. Instead of the women, instead of Eve giving deadly fruit to the man, now we have the women commissioned to give the living word, the resurrection news to the men. And so I can't help but kind of think that maybe, why the women? Because God is doing such a massive work of salvation that it's even the reversal of the fall. And you might even go so far to say the redemption of Eve. Again, the woman back in the garden gave deadly fruit to the man. He took, he ate. He should have known better. He did know better. So I'm not trying to put the blame on the woman, but just thinking the woman took, she ate, and she gave. And now we have these women who are being commissioned to give life-giving news to the men, the resurrection news of Jesus, and the hope of eternal life that we have in him, that Jesus is risen. And so it just magnifies to me the good news of the resurrection. That it's not just good news that Jesus is risen, but what we're seeing is that this resurrection news is God bringing about restoration, God bringing about the reversal of even the fall and the redemption of Eve. Well, thank God for the women in our lives who direct us to Jesus, who give us that resurrection news and point us to Jesus and to keep trusting in him. God bless. Have a great day. And again, thank God for those women in your life who directed you to Jesus.